When I was bringing my children into the world, I had a lot of obstacles to handle, both during pregnancy and during labour. I had family members who were not accepting of my choices. I had unsupportive caregivers. I had a pissed off midwife. I had a fire truck present at the birth of my first child and a good attempt to persuade me to evacuate by helicopter. And after the birth of my second child, I had a trip to the police station for a good reprimanding by the Chief of Police. And whilst I wouldn't recommend any of these experiences to anyone, one thing I know for sure is that I birthed in the way that I needed to for myself and for my children so that I could give them the best start that I knew was right for us. And had I compromised in those labour, in my pregnancy and in my labour, which I did to some degree in my first birth, I would have had an experience that was far different to what my desires were for birthing my children. So what I want to ask you right now is, if you were 100% certain that everything would work out perfectly fine, you would have an easy birth, an easy labour, and you would have a healthy, happy baby. If you knew that nothing could go wrong, how would you be feeling during your pregnancy? If you knew that the outcome was going to be wonderful, would you still be worrying about the same things that you're worrying about now? My guess is that if you knew the outcome was perfect, that you would be having an experience that was quite different. You would be feeling a state of joy and excitement and eagerness, looking forward to the whole experience. And if you knew that the outcome would be perfect and absolutely everything that you desired, what kind of birth would you plan? Would you plan a hospital birth? Would you plan a home birth? Would you like to be out in nature? Would you like a water birth? There's a lot of options to choose from, although we don't often give consideration to most of them. So if you can get an idea of what you actually would have if you knew that nothing would go wrong, then the key question to ask yourself is, what is stopping you now from feeling that way and planning that birth? I'm just going to stop talking for a few seconds because I want you to actually answer that question. What is stopping you from feeling that way now and from planning the birth that you truly desire? What's stopping you? What's standing in your way? Or in Birth into Being, we might ask, what's holding you back? Usually when we get to the bottom of this question, we find that it is fear showing itself in one of its many forms. It might be a fear or a belief of not being good enough, not having what it takes. It might be a fear of not being accepted for your choices, a fear of authority figures. It may be a fear of things going wrong, of making mistakes, or it might be a fear of pain in labour. The list goes on, but basically a fear of anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. I'm using quite general words and examples because this is a short video, but I'm going to assume that you might possibly have a fear about something while you're pregnant or even while you're trying to conceive. Once you recognize that there is fear or stress present, then you have a choice to make. You can ignore it and hope that it goes away. This is quite a popular choice, by the way. Or you can take a look at your situation and make a decision to do what needs to be done. So the very first step is a willingness to even take a look at yourself and what's happening in your world. And the second step is gaining clarity of what's actually going on. Once we have clarity and awareness of what our situation is, what our problems are, what our stresses are, what our fears are, then we can couple that with a commitment to action to work out what needs to happen, and to do it. So here's why I strongly suggest that the second option is the better choice. Birth and fear do not mix. Pregnancy and fear do not mix. If you stop and consider how you feel and the type of person that you are and the choices that you make when you're coming from a place of fear, you'll find your own answers. I know that when I'm coming from a place of fear or stress, I make terrible choices. I don't handle my relationships properly. I have poor judgment. I waste so much energy worrying about things that may or may not happen. So if you move through pregnancy and birth, making terrible choices, having poor judgment, and using all your energy worrying about problems instead of solutions, what do you think that your experience is going to be like? So I can hear some of you saying, yeah, but Melissa, it's not that easy. This is just the way things are. This is happening to me. That person is doing this to me. Yes, I understand. And it's true. It's true. There are many things in this world that are out of your control. And that is why it is essential now, more than ever, to develop fearlessness and resilience so that you can still, despite everything that's going on in this world around you, in your situation, in your life, you can still move through pregnancy and birth and have the most amazing, enjoyable experience and achieve the birth that you want to have and bring your children into this world the way that you want to, the way that's right for you. If you're still not convinced that working through your fears during pregnancy is worth every effort, then you may need to consider this. Fears that are not dealt with during pregnancy will often turn up during labor in the form of a complication. Why? Because pregnancy activates all of your systems. It stirs up your deepest beliefs, your limbic imprints, and labor magnifies all of that many times over. So if you have things that you need to work through them sooner rather than later, because fears that are not dealt with during pregnancy will increase your chance of having the birth that you don't want. A birth that is traumatic for either you or your baby has many follow-on consequences. For you, it may mean ongoing stress or feelings of anger or resentment or powerlessness. Perhaps a feeling of an inability to cope with motherhood. It may even increase chances of postpartum depression. And for baby, it means an entry into the world that equates life with being a struggle, with being hard, difficult, painful. Positive birth experiences, even when they are not exactly as you describe them when you are imagining your perfect birth, they pave the way for feelings of exhilaration and feelings of empowerment in motherhood, feeling like you're capable of doing anything, because you are. And for baby, it imprints them with a sense that the world is a safe place to be in, that life is easy and joyful and free from fear and pain. Birth is not something that you can control or predict, just like life. And sometimes things need to happen in a certain way. I talk about this more in detail in my videos on birth preparation. But a complete preparation that includes your emotional and psychological world will bring you and your baby to the best possible experience that you can have, no matter what kind of birth it is. So get clear with your fear. I can absolutely, totally, 100% say from personal experience that it is worth every effort. Get clear with your fear. If you'd like to know how, then stick with me here at Fearless Mama for information, guidance, and tools and techniques for emotional well-being during pregnancy and birth. Thank you for being here. See you next time.